Today we will be discussing the treatment that the Native Indians went through. So, our question today is: how have American social advancements affected Native cultures? My thesis for today is basically saying how Native Americans have been treated very poorly throughout history and are still very poorly treated, and the solutions to this is basically like legislation needs to be passed, like unifying all native tribes and like acknowledging their cultures and not discriminating against them. Well, we'll be looking at this through three lenses: the historical lens, the political lens, and an ethical lens. So first, let's start off with the historical lens. They've ever since Christopher Columbus basically landed, the Native Americans have been discriminated. Basically, what he did, he came, he saw, he conquered. He went off of that, and he was responsible for like the deaths of millions of Indians. So that's when their treatment really started to go downhill. And since throughout history, basically ever since like the U.S. became the U.S. in 1787 after the Revolutionary War, many like America was viewed as a safe haven for like native people to come to, because it was dubbed the land of the free and the home of the brave. So when they didn't get that, that's when America basically became kind of like a hypocrite. We just fought it. We fought for equal rights when they refused to give Native Americans the uh, the same rights. Basically, what they promised them, when the few that they did accept, they like forced them to learn English and abandon their own like cultures and try like their own cultures and like traditions. So what they did was like basically saying, "Hey, learn English, so and in return we'll give you like voting rights and all that." What they basically did, none of that was fulfilled on their part. The Native Americans never really got voting rights. They were never acknowledged as like a tribe. Um, this promise was made to them in 1795. It's been more than 200 years. This promise is yet to be fulfilled. So you can clearly see how their treatments has been spiraled down throughout history. We'll look further into other examples in other lenses. In this graph, it basically talks about like how broken and how secularized different native cultures have become, like different tribes, how unified they once were, and now they're broken up across the United States. Moving on to our political lens, we could say even throughout history, linking back to this ties very well with our historical lens, because throughout history, the U.S. government has been like oppressing these native cultures and their native traditions. Examples of this could be highlighted in the Jackson presidency, in the Andrew Jackson presidency, when he directly caused the Trail of Tears. He needed the land for like Georgia was like, this is our land, so we're gonna take it. So Andrew Jackson basically kicked the Native Americans off their lands, thus making them like abandon their own cultures and traditions. Even today, you can see how like not many Native Americans are very like acknowledged in society, and they're really not included in any of the like public affairs or the like elections. They really don't have much say in the government. So this is the lens where we basically draw our like solution from. Although there have been like legislation in the state of Michigan, for example, in the government where they did offer like if you're like 1/4 Native American, you got 2 out of the 4 years in any public university in Michigan. Like your tuition was paid for the first 2 out of 4 years. This was good, but like it needs to be nationwide. That's our solution. Like pass legislation that like prohibits discrimination against Native Americans, and like basically unify their tribes. We saw in the previous graph how broken they were. So and this basically like outlines the Trail of Tears and how like the different paths they took. The ethical lens is basically talking about how the language side, many of their native languages was lost in the like over time because of this inclusion, because of this lack of inclusion and like lack of acknowledgement. Many of their languages are now on the endangered list, which like requires for the language to be more than 100 years in existence and like less than 1,000 people speaking it. Some of these native languages only have a handful. One of them even has only one native language speaker alive today, which is like just tragic to think about. Once again, the solution would be to preserve these native cultures, and the only way to do that is like bring attention to the public. This basically outlines the different. This graph basically outlines the different like lenses. I mean, the different types of native languages that are endangered and like their severity from like not so much to oh my god they're gonna die, and we're excited. Thank you.